Welcome to Bijumohan channel. Today we are fact-checking the claims made by Mohammad that there are enough archaeological evidences to prove that Babri Masjid was actually built by demolishing a Ram temple. We are going to have a purely an academic discussion analyzing both historic and archaeological facts regarding Babri Masjid. To discuss the subject, we have with us two eminent personalities. First of all, I would like to welcome Professor Syed Nadeem Rezavi, who is a professor at Aligarh Muslim University. He was former chairman and coordinator of Center for Advanced Studies in History and was coordinator of Musa Dakri Museum, Aligarh Muslim University. His research interests focus on history and archaeology of medieval India and on Mughal dynasty in particular. He wrote books like Fatehpur Sikri Revisited, History Through Archaeology. He was contributed chapters to books including Religious Movements and Institutions in Medieval India, Religion in Indian History, and authored almost 50 papers published in reputed journals. He was also president of Medieval India section of the Indian History Congress during 2013-2014 session, General President UP History Congress 2018. He was also chosen Sectional President Bengal Itihas Sansad 2019 and Punjab Historical Conference. We are fortunate enough to have him with us. And we also have Malavika Binny. She need no introduction for the viewers of this channel. I have already made more than 50 videos of Malavika Binny. Malavika Binny is now working as assistant professor at Kannur University. She did her PhD from JNU.
Thank you so much, Bijumohan. It has been a proud privilege to associate with your channel. I am very, very honored and pleased and delighted that we have Professor Ali Nadeem Rezavi with us. Dr. Mohammad has been making this claim that he was so he has given a couple of interviews. So in three of the interviews, he claims that he was an archaeologist. And these are the more recent interviews that he has given to the New Indian Express, both in English and Malayalam, as well as to other Malayalam regional channels. And in these, he claims that he was an archaeologist under B.B. Lal during the 1976-77 excavations at Ayodhya. In slightly earlier interviews, he claims that he was a student under B.B. Lal and that he was studying at the ASI at that point of time, that is during the first excavation. And he is making very tall and loud claims that during his tenure as an archaeologist or while he was a student, he was able to enter the premises of the masjid, the Babri Masjid, which was not demolished at that point of time, and that he saw idols there and pillars which were pillars of a Hindu temple. So, could you please comment on these remarks and these claims made by?
First of all, before I start answering the question which has been put to me by Dr. Malavika Binny, I would like to thank the channel for having me here and Mr. Biju Mohan for approaching me that I may be able to air my views on this topic. Actually, this claim by my senior friend, a senior colleague, I should say, because he was a student at the same place where I am serving at the moment, Aligarh Muslim University. He was a student at AMU. He did his MA sometime in 1975-76. Actually, his degree is of 1976. This is not the first time that he is making this claim. It was way back in October, actually 1st of October 2019, that Times of India, Delhi edition, I saw the Delhi edition, but I'm told that other editions also carried this news. It had an interview of Mohammad Saab, in which he had claimed that He was part of the team which was led by Bibi Lal during the excavations which he said took place in 1976-77. He also claimed that he was the only Muslim member of the team. He also claimed in this interview that but for the mechanizations of the left, such elements like Romela and Irfan Habib and other such rowdy elements of the left, the evidence of Bibilal was very much there, and he had, in fact, in 1976-77, found enough proof that a Bhavya Mandir existed at the place where Babri Masjid actually came to stand up. That was the sum total of what he had made other claims. I mean, he had certain shlokas of in Sanskrit which he recited and told us what type of material related with the temple constructions were found there, and blah blah blah. A lot of things he had spoken. At the moment, I am only concerned with the statement that he was a part of the team of Bibila, and secondly, that Bibilal was very explicit in these excavations to claim that there was a temple below the Babri Masjid. I would draw your attention to the fact that the first excavations by Dr. Professor Bibilal took place in 1969-70. That was the first season, which perhaps KK Mohammad forgets. He says that it started with 76-77. The second season of excavation was definitely this particular year, 76-77, which KK says that he was a part of the team. And then the third season, and perhaps the last season, was in 79-80. And after that, no further excavations by Professor B. Bilal took place. Unfortunately for us, in spite of the fact that the scholars of that period, I mean, all concerned people, kept on demanding that Bibi Lal should file a final report of what his excavations were about, what did he find. Till date, Bibi Lal did not come up with a final report of those excavations which had taken place. In spite of the fact that the final report is yet to be lodged, there are certain very brief reports. There is a practice in Archaeological Survey of India that each year's excavations are reported in brief in one of their publications, Indian Archaeology, a Review.
IAR.
There is a brief report which is published in the year for the year 1969-70. There is a report which is published for 76-77. There is a report which is published for 78, for 79-80. I have brought all the three of them with me here. You might say that I have brought, cyclo-style copies of some documents which might not exist. These are the actual publications. You will find them in any library. You go and consult any library. Till a few years back, these, Indian Archaeology, a Review, were also available online on the website of the AS. Yesterday, I checked their website. Now they are except for the recent, ones.
They have some issues, but they don't have all the issues.
Some issues of them, the recent ones, they are there. All the old issues have been removed from them. Now, in this report, Indian Archaeology 1969-70, on page 40-41, there is a brief report of 2 paragraphs. And it tells us that the main objective of this season's work was to ascertain the cultural sequence at the site. To realize this aim, three small cuttings were made, one near the Jain Ghat, the second at Lakshman Tekri, and the third on the Nal Tila. This is what happened before KK Muhammad Sahab joined the first excavations. This is the report. Like brief excavations where this was only to ascertain the cultural sequence. Right. Now come to the year 1976-77. We have almost two-page report of this. A little detail because now proper excavations had taken place, and these are reported in Indian Archaeology 1976-77, pages 52 to 53. These reports always start with the names of the members of the ASI team which had taken part in these excavations. I don't know whether Bibilal Saab was having an amnesia, or he thought that perhaps it's not needed that KK Muhammad should be mentioned there. He had no faith in him. Whatever, the name doesn't matter. You read all the names given out there. KK Muhammad is not there. What to talk about the only Muslim archaeologist present in the team of Mr. B. Bilal in the year 76-77, which he was claiming to a large number of papers, including the Times of India, of October 1st, which I am referring to you. Now, and he has repeated this claim, as you pointed out in the introduction, in recent weeks as well. Secondly, if you read this report, you will find that there is no mention of anything like pillar bases, a Bhavya temple. KK had said that in 76-77 he had found definite proof of a temple. And what this report written by B. Bilal for Indian Archaeology 1976-77, what does it say? It says in the upper levels of this phase, the fortification wall appears to have had a fairly deep ditch, almost like a moat, just on its exterior, which was partly cut into the natural clay overlying the fluviatile sand bed. The other side near Hanuman Gadi yielded a good number of structures of the NBP ware and later periods, ring wells, blah, 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 blah. Right. Then what he says is, after the early historic deposits, there is a break in occupation with considerable debris and pit formation before the site was again occupied around the 11th century AD, the period when a temple is supposed to have existed. What does he find? Several later medieval brick and concrete lime floors have been met with, but the entire late period was devoid of any special interest. कहाँ है मंदिर भाई? Where was the temple? Where are the pillars? Which KK says that he had seen in these excavations. Even if he was there, where is the reference to it in the excavations which took place? Now, before I go to the third report, let me point out that when this question came up, Times of India in 2019 October 1st reported this claim of KK Muhammad ji that he was the only Muslim member of the team of Bibilal. I checked his personal. Every person who is a member of a department has a personal file which is there, which is accessible to the chairman of the department. Fortunately, that was the time in 2019 that I was the chairman of the department, and those files were accessible to me. Secondly, till then, the AMU website also had the CV of Mr. KK Muhammad uploaded. It is still was there. Now it has been removed. It was in 1975 that KK had completed his MA. Now, if he has done his MA in 1975, he gets a degree in 1976. Right? It was only later on that we came to know that in 1976 or 77, he had joined the archaeological school at Delhi, from where he did a 1 year diploma before once again shifting back to Aligarh. Perhaps he was such a genius that soon after on his completion, before he got the degree, he was admitted to this Institute of Archaeology at Delhi, and then perhaps he went there. Now, this fact that he had gone there for a limited period of time came to be known only and only by another Times of India report. The Times of India, dated 14th of October 2019, it countered my claim that KK Mohammad was not a member of the team of Bibi Lal at
Bibila.
all. Right. Now, suddenly, Times of India, after my interview, uh, presumably sent an email to Bibi Lal, who was in London. And suddenly, after so many years of remaining silent, on October 14th, 2019, Bibi Lal suddenly remembered that no. KK Mohammed was with me during the excavations. He was a part of the team. That is what that, and this newspaper is also available to you on the net. You can go and Google it and check. But then there are three other statements by some other archaeologists, which are also included by Times of India, to substantiate the claim of Mr. KK Mohammed. One is by Ramakant Chaturvedi, who reportedly was the retired director municipality of museum at Gwalior, retired in 2007. Times of India had interviewed him in support of the claim that KK Mohammed was present during the excavations. He said, yes, he was there, but as a student of the School of Archaeology of Delhi. Ashok Pandey, again a retired superintendent archaeology from Bhopal, he clarified that KK Mohammed was part of a team of 10 students who had joined as students, as trainees for a limited period of time for training purposes during the period when these excavations were going on. A photographer retired from ASI in 2005, who also said yes, he was a student, but the only Muslim who was there during the excavations 76 77. And this has forced Mr. KK Mohammed that in the recent interview which he has given to Indian Express, which is published in the Kochi edition, a full page interview, there he says, yes, I was there as one of the students of this Institute of Archaeology of Delhi. Now there is much difference between being a member of the team and being there as a casual student. I also, as a professor of history, sometimes take my students to certain sites for their training purposes. Now, is it possible for a young student who has just completed his MA to have done all those things which he is claiming in these interviews to Times of India, Indian Express, and elsewhere? I think when I called out Mr. KK Mohammed, I called out his bluff, and then it had a sobering effect that he came out with some truth. He might have been there as a student, I am not concerned, but he was not there as the member of the team of Mr. B. Bilal at all. There is no record of that. In the last year's report of the last excavation report, which is the report of 7980, mind you, this is the last report published by B. Bilalji. Once again, there is no mention of any structure which might in any way resemble a temple, which might have been located at Ayodhya. All this claim of there being, temple bases were suddenly remembered by Bibi Lal at the time when L.K. Advani was leading his Rath Yatra, causing all the mayhem which was happening in the country. It was only in 1991, just before the demolition of the Babri Masjid, that in one of the journals of the RSS, not any ASI journal, that Bibi Lal for the first time made a claim that he had found certain pillar bases and certain other elements which go to prove that there was a Bhavya Mandir below the place where there is Babri Masjid. Incidentally, also remember that these excavations by Bibi Lal were not exactly at the spot where Babri Masjid stood. It was very much there. It was, near the spot, not at the spot of the temple. One thing which I forgot to read out to you was that in these reports, Bibi Lal reported certain artifacts and materials which are related to Buddhism. Some Buddhist remains were found. Some Buddhist iconography was found. K.K. Mohammad in his interviews claimed that no thing related with Buddhism was found. It was a Bhavya Ram Mandir which was located. It was a total falsity which my friend K.K. Mohammad was trying to circulate. Is still trying to circulate. Now you remember that this is a time when history is being replaced by myths and mythologies. Whatever you say would be taken on the face value. I am citing you the reports, I am citing you the documents, and both the things go to prove number one, that KK Mohammad was not part of the team, even if he was there, even if for a second, if we believe that he did enter into the place where excavations were taking place, he went there as a very junior student, which is an entirely different thing from being a member of the team led by Mr. Bibila. Secondly, throughout any of the reports filed to any publication of Archaeological Survey of India, B.B. Lal himself did not claim even an iota of evidence which might go to suggest that there existed a temple or anything like a temple below the Babri Masjid structure. All these claims of a temple being there only came up when the political movement of Advani ji was succeeding. Only when Bibi Lal ji realized that he can now become famous by the popularity of the Ram movement, that he started making his claims. It was only in 2019 that both KK Mohammad and Bibi Lal suddenly remembered that KK Mohammad, the Muslim archaeologist, was also a part of it, of these excavations, and his name would be enough to convince people, yes, there was a temple below the structure. Both the things stand on falsehoods. None of them is true.
Absolutely. I think, sir, I think you have made it very crystal clear that it is impossible for him to have been an archaeologist at that point of time. And even if we give him the benefit of the doubt, and if we believe all those things, and then that requires not just one pinch of salt, but
No,
a lot of
I'm
salt to
saying,
believe all.
stressing this because in his interviews he keeps on claiming that I went there and I saw that there was a lock on the door, and I asked the person, open the door. Just imagine a young student who is a diploma student, merely registered for a few months, would have been able to do all that thing. I don't suppose that our Archaeological Survey of India or our sites are so ill protected that anybody could interfere and do anything which wanted. And I will go a step further. I am saying all this because let me also inform that I have the credit of being, part of a full chapter drafted by KK Mohammad ji in one of his recent books. There are two chapters of his recent book devoted to Irfan Saab. I was not that much lucky, but I am lucky that one of the chapters of that book, along with Irfan Saab, keeps on, blaming me for everything which is wrong. I don't know archaeology. What have I to do with all those things? I'm not an archaeologist. How can Mr. Rezavi? He has always been, making false statements. If you want to know what KK Muhammad has done, please read the appendix of my book on Fatehpur Sikri. He has actually vandalized the monuments of Fatehpur Sikri, which are, a World Heritage Site. He has tried to manipulate the monuments and shape them in the fashion which he wished them to be. And he was such a wise person that when those reports were being published, both the photographs, the earlier image and the image which he had got altered to something different, there is a mosque out there which had trabeate entrances. Our KK Bhai thought that how is it possible that Mughals will have trabeate entrances? There should be arches. So when he renovated that structure, instead of that trabeate entrance, he replaced it with an arch. It is there, and both the photographs are in the ASI report itself. There are other structures at Fatehpur Sikri which had a slightly tapering wall. One of the important features of early Akbari architecture. KK thought, what's all this? He had, drooping eaves, Indian thing, which were not there, added to it. And renovations were carried on uh, in a way that tapering now suddenly appears to have gone away. Two separate monuments were joined together, and now if you go to the site, you will find one building, which actually is two buildings with tapering sides. He tried to, create an ibadat khana out there. Mm. And there was a painting where certain arches were present there. So he thought that let me add them to the site. So during his period, those arches were completed and shown to the public. Look here, this is the same thing which is there in Akbarnama painting. So, I have discovered it. All wrong claims. I'm not going into the details. Those excavations, once again, were not done by KK Mohammad. They were done by Professor R.C. Gore. He was a minor member of the team, one of the minor technical staff of the team, being a member of the Department of History. And in the press, he went and he keeps on claiming he discovered Ibadat Khana. Who is he to discover Ibadat Khana? He discovered the first church from the period of Akbar at Fatehpur Sikri. Who was he to discover? It was the excavations of Professor R.C. Gore. Yes, he was part of the team. So credit should go to the director, not to one minor member of the team. Just like here, he is claiming, I said this to Bibi Lal Saab, he did this, I saw this. And ultimately, what we find is that if at all he was there as a minor student. Similarly, at Fatehpur Sikri excavations, he keeps on claiming a large number of things, whereas he was just a minor member of a large team, national team of a national project, which was launched by Professor Nurul Hassan, with director Professor R.C. Ghosh, the well-known, archaeologist of India, who discovered Atranji Khera, and keeps on claiming that most of the important things at Fatehpur Sikri were actually discovered by him. They were not discovered by him. They are all part of the excavations done under the directorship of Professor R.C. Gaur by the team led by the Department of Aligarh Muslim University.
So he has been consistently making this false claims.
Consistently doing all that. And in my appendix, I have dealt with how he has, disturbed the sites where, at least at Fatehpur Sikri, I have given details of what he had done, in spite of what ASI itself suggests should have been done to preserve and conserve the archaeological sites. He has actually uh, played with them, destroyed them. I mean, these are strong words, but I am responsible enough to be using them. I have actually used them in the appendix of my book. It is very much published by Oxford University Press. Uh, and these are what he says, that these are all lies. You go out there and have a look. I have given everything along with photographic proofs from the publications of ASI and KK Mohammad himself.
KK Mohammed makes this claim that he had seen these pillars and that pillars had the inscriptions of some Hindu symbols like the Kalash.
I would request you to go to Fatehpur Sikri, and in many places you would find, a large number of carvings where you have the Kalasha motif, you have got chain and bell motif, you have got, swastikas, you have got
The Srivatsa.
a large number of things which are actually now related with Hindu or Jain temple art. This is not only confined to, say, for example, Fatehpur Sikri, but even in most of the Mughal monuments, you will find the use of the same symbols sometimes, which were once upon a time also a part of temple architecture. So, prevalence of a motif which is also found in a temple does not go to prove that that particular structure was of Hindu origin. These structural elements, over a period of time, they are imbibed by the new class of people, which sometimes do not, identify those very elements with any religion. They are sometimes identified through the region from where they have been imbibed. Chain and bell motif, for that matter, is very much there in most of the Gujarat mosques of the Sultanate period. They are there at Fatehpur Sikri. They are there in a large number of secular monuments, which apparently have nothing to do with anything related with a religious place of worship, Hindu or otherwise. Number one. Number two, what they are trying to misread or mislead, I would say, is the fact that the structure of the Babri Masjid, when it was standing, uh, you know, those there were certain black square shaped pillars
Kasauti pillars.
of Hindu motifs which were embedded within the wall of at certain places of the Babri Masjid as it was standing. There were certain pillars of the same type which were embedded within the Babri Masjid complex, which were freestanding at the site which was known as Sita Rasoi, just very near to the structure of the erstwhile structure of the Babri Masjid. The archaeologists and historians who were not, you know, bent upon proving something, according to them, these were all pillars, fragments of structures assembled from various places and put up in this monument. They were reused materials from other diversified structures, not one structure. So if KK reports that there is, an amlak or a kalasha or this or that, they were there, but all are recorded to have been brought to this mosque at some later stage and were collected from various other dilapidated structures. They were not found inside trenches of any excavation which took place. In the 2003 excavations, what is very interesting is the fact that no big idol sculpture of any type has been discovered or reported. There are certain small idols, votive idols, you can say, which were found. A large number of things which were found, which were Shavite in character. There were icons and sculptures, certain designs which are Buddhist, none of Vaishnavite. That was very surprising during the excavations. And don't believe me for that. Go and read the ASI report of Dr. Mani, the superintendent archaeologist B.R. Mani, who carried out the 2003 High Court sponsored excavations at Ayodhya. There is a full, bound volume of all of the photographs of the various things which were found within the trenches, and one volume which is of the various chapters which had been describing what has been found out there. And you will find no substantial sculptural iconographic remains which might connect the site to any Vaishnavite temple which might have existed there.
Jaya Menon and Supriya Verma's article in EPW, they claim that there was this fragment of what could have been uh, two figures which are embracing each other, which have been recorded at one in one context book as an Uma Maheshwara, possibly an Uma Maheshwara icon, and in another report it's written as a divine couple. Now all that is there is a left thigh and a foot of one figure and the waist of another figure. From that, whether you can even call it Uma Maheshwara is debatable. And then again, in the report, when they mention it in their article, it was initially written as Uma Maheshwara, and then it was whitened out and made into divine couple, because finding a Shaivite uh, Shaivite fragment or Shaivite iconography at this site.
At the time when this particular, uh, you know, artifact was located in one of the trenches at Ayodhya, I was fortunate enough to have been there as one of the observers that day. And I remember the great fight which was going on between the ASI members who were hell bent on trying to give it a particular name, and the other observers who were trying to tell the ASI, please don't manipulate this. One another thing which I would like to add, which I had myself seen there during the 2003 excavations when I was there as a court appointed observer, was the fact that this very site, those very trenches, from where certain minor sculptures and other iconographic, artifacts found, had a large number of, cooked bones of four-legged animals, quadrupeds, which were not raw. They were actually cut and cooked, and they were there at the site. It could only have, and in large quantities, it could have only happened when there were meat eaters who were living there. It was not the bones of dead animals who might have died there or got buried there. No, they were actually bones which had been uh, cut and cooked for consumption. But what ASI was doing, and it was one of the you know things which was also reported by India Today, Frontline, all type of papers of that period, that we observers were actually vehemently protesting that why are you not recording these? Why are you asking the laborers to just throw them away without recording them? They were not recorded. Even in the final report, in spite of the fact that we kept on requesting the two magistrates who were there on the site, nothing was recorded. So if there were, such temple related objects, then there was a lot of objects which could never have existed at the place where a temple. Secondly, just below the foundations of the Babri Masjid, and I think that is reported by Jaya Menon and that paper which you are saying, that just below it was a Kanati mosque, a mosque which has no structure, just the western wall and two cordon walls on the two sides. So there is a wall on the west, there is a small wall on the north, another wall on the south. It is open from the front, and the western wall has a mihrab in between. It is just like an Eidgah, even today, which exists in the villages. It's open to air. Such structures, which were many during the Sultanate period, this was known as a Kanati mosque. Kanat means, that even when you have those parties, you have those just a partition with the help of a cloth wall, something like that. So, these structures were known as Kanati mosque.
Okay, I think in Kerala we call it a shamiana.
Yeah, just like a Shamiana thing.
A partition of two spaces.
Yeah, and below that there were certain residential structures from where these bones were discovered, which were made of, reused bricks, broken bricks, which might have been part of some other structure. And these small structures of common people, reused structures, they were there. Many floors existed. Now, what these ASI people were doing is that whenever they would find floors, they might be at different layers, but they would remove the floors and only leave out certain spaces where those reused bricks would remain embedded at different levels, because one floor was at this level, the other floor was at that level. So you take out all the brick material from in between, and you leave out square stumps and photograph them to show that they were pillar bases. That is how those pillar bases were being created, and we were present there. We kept on protesting, no one listened. But then, although the Supreme Court did not reprimand them for doing all that, but fortunately, neither the High Court nor the Supreme Court took the archaeological excavations of 2003 into consideration. Actually, the judgment, if you read it, shows these excavations do not prove the existence of any temple structure, and they reject it. It is only on faith that in the final, paragraphs of the judgment, that the land is given to the Hindu party to create. So, in a way, both High Court and Supreme Court also rejected what these fellows had been throughout.
Okay, dialing it back to Dr. K.K. Mohammed's claims, he also makes this claim that none of the alleged historians, none of the JNU historians ever visited these sites. And then he categorically delineates archaeologists and historians. And this is a tactic that he has been constantly using in almost all of his interviews.
What I am doing is, I'm not talking about whether Aligarh people went there or not. I am just challenging the fact that Mr. K.K. Mohammad himself was never there as an archaeologist himself. First, he should prove definitely that he was there, then he should challenge any of us. So at the moment, his claim is under consideration, and I am very, categorical to say that he never went there as an excavator. Never. Thankfully, he also never claims that he visited the site at the time when 2003 excavations were going on. He never makes that claim. As far as the claim of the earlier excavations are concerned, I am giving you the proof that he was not there as a member. I will also add one more thing. I don't know who amongst the Aligarh people went there or not. I'll just remind your audience that Aligarh Muslim University, the Department of History of Aligarh Muslim University, is perhaps, or I should say, was perhaps the only department in a university which had its own independent archaeology section, which was as well equipped as any ASI archaeology sections in any of its circles. And incidentally, Mr. K.K. Mohammad started his career from the same archaeology section. And this archaeology section is known throughout the world for having conducted such excavations as those of Atranji Khera, Jhakera, and Fatehpur Sikri, amongst a lot of other places where, for example, Lal Qila excavations, not the Lal Qila of Delhi, but Lal Qila, a place in Uttar Pradesh. A number of very significant sites had been, excavated by the members of the, archaeology section of the Department of History. Aligarh Muslim University, the department from where Mr. K.K. Mohammad started his career, had archaeologists like Professor R.C. Gaur, who became the director of the National Project of Archaeology when Fatehpur Sikri excavations were launched by Professor Nurul Hassan as education minister. Iqtidar Alam Khan is a big banner name who made his name and career in what is known as medieval archaeology. Perhaps now it is more than 25 years that I have been teaching a course on medieval archaeology at Aligarh Muslim University, a course which is not taught elsewhere. I'm not going to counter him by saying that Mr. X went there or Mr. Y didn't go there. I won't say that. I would just say that Aligarh Muslim University, whose scholars he is challenging, number one, shaped Mr. K.K. Mohammad to become eligible to be recruited by ASI. And it is those members of Aligarh who are known throughout the world for the type of excavations which they have conducted. So to claim that he is the only one, I think is something which now he is mature enough, he should avoid making such claims because every time when he opens his mouth, he comes up with a claim which he is unable to substantiate by any type of evidence. I remember that once he was giving a lecture at St. John's College at Agra, where he was claiming that in Goa, there is a church where there is a body of a Christian saint well preserved. And I was actually aghast to hear him say that it was he, when he was in charge of ASI Circle at Goa, that he got it, preserved, conserved, and brought to light. Around 10 years before he was making this claim, I had gone to Goa and had seen that very particular mummy. So he is prone to making such fantastic claims. So I'm not going to comment more on them. I can only say, Mr. K.K. Mohammad, I think once upon a time you were a good archaeologist. Just confine yourself to that only. Don't try to exceed your limits.
One of the interview, when a girl was asking him questions, said, suppose you are right that there is enough evidence that there was a temple below Babri Masjid place. But what is the proof that it was a Ram temple? What was the proof? Then he said that there was some carving in which it is written that this is dedicated to Vishnu who killed Bali. This is his argument. Is there such things was found there?
I'll answer it in two ways. First, I would say that had they actually found anything like that, then perhaps the courts would have also taken it into consideration and would have said that there is evidence for the existence of a mosque. They tried to put all those things before High Court and Supreme Court, and both of them rejected their claims. None of them was found suitable enough. Incidentally, I would just refer to one of the articles which has been written by Professor Pushpa Prasad, which was presented in 2003 itself, at the time when excavations were going on, in the proceedings of the Indian History Congress. A claim had been made that a stone tablet, a big inscription has been found in one of the trenches, which talks about a Vaishnav temple existing at this particular site. And there were certain scholars who tried to give a reading and said that, look here, we have an evidence where this actual, inscription epigraph talks about a Vaishnav structure on the walls of which this particular, epigraph was once fixed. Now suddenly discovered in one of the trenches. When this was reported, the serious historians were actually quite puzzled, and they started actually studying this particular evidence which was brought forward. One scholar, I am forgetting the full name, N.K. Sharma, or I am forgetting the name, he reported that there was one inscription which had been there in Lucknow Museum and which thieves have taken away. It was lost. It was not to be found. And investigations started. Pushpa Prasad, on getting this news, she wrote an article on 3 inscriptions from Ayodhya. That paper is uploaded on JSTOR, 2003 Indian History Proceedings of the Indian History Congress. You can go and download it. And when she started writing this paper and studying this particular inscription, to her horror, she found that this particular text of the inscription had been created out of 2 separate pieces of epigraphs which had been cut and mixed together. They were cut and then rejoined as one piece, half of this, half of that. Although, when she wrote, she said that even the script of both were different. The time periods when inscription 1 and inscription 2 were written were of different period, but the public is not going to understand, so they created a new reading in which it appeared, because half the line said king such and such, other half line of an epigraph lifted from some other place mentioned a Vaishnavite structure. So when you join both the lines, during the reign of such and such period, 11th century, a Vaishnav structure existed at Ayodhya. That paper was published, and let me say that that was taken cognizance of by even the High Court, what to talk about the Supreme Court, and the Lucknow bench of the High Court rejected that particular epigraph, and it was proved without beyond doubt that this was just a spoof which had been tried to be created out of nothing.
Yes, in fact, I had read the Allahabad and the Lucknow court verdicts, and it very clearly mentions it there. It has been absolutely disproved, but
Read this
unfortunately,
article of Pushpa Prasad.
so another claim that KK Mohammad sir is making is that he has he has worked at Gyanvapi as well as the Kashi Vishwanath mosques, and that it was in a very dilapidated condition initially, and that he has renovated those mosques. But he doesn't stop there. He says that that Muslims should offer a healing touch to the majority community in India, and that these mosques should be once and for all handed over to the Hindu community so that all future strife can be avoided.
You know, again, I mean, what you are asking me are actually two things. One is his personal opinion, the other, a claim that he also did similar work as in Ayodhya and other places, at Gyanvapi and Mathura. I'm not sure when he was posted at Banaras. I'm not sure whether he was ever posted in Mathura. He was there in Agra Circle. He might have visited this. He might have seen this. I don't know. I mean, before the year 2023-24, perhaps this claim he's making in 24. So I'm not sure whether even in 23 he made this claim of Gyanvapi or Mathura.
So these are in the recent interviews.
In the recent, I mean, after every few years, he keeps on adding to his CV by claiming things which he had never done before. So I'm not sure, he might have gone there. I'm not aware what he has done, or neither it has ever been reported anywhere. So let the things come. We will see. I mean, he has claimed that he had done much work on those temple structures in Madhya Pradesh. There is also a controversy regarding that. Let me not bring all that. Let us not uh, waste our time on some tall claims which he keeps on making. As far as his claim or his personal opinion, this might happen or that might happen. Unfortunately, I am basically a historian, a student of history. I am no astrologer or or anybody who can predict what might have happened if this had happened. Although I am, remembering reading somewhere that in the late colonial period, at the time when the things were getting heated up, when suddenly Ramji had appeared uh, as an idol in the mosque one night, and there was also a man claiming that he had, inserted Ramji within the Garbhagriha. The man was still alive. He was claiming that he did it. Even in recent weeks, he had given certain type of, his claims were repeated again that it was he who had done that. Whatever. So it was at that time that there were certain Muslim community members who decided that we should hand over this place to our Hindu brethren. Just like the Muslim Nawab of Awadh had once handed over lands at Ayodhya to their Hindu subjects to construct temples. All those temples, which today night are so beautifully decorated uh, on both the banks of River Saryu today, 90% of them are either creations by the Muslims themselves or on lands which were granted by the Muslim community itself. Such sense comes to prevail and Hindus and Muslims stop fighting on basis of religion, perhaps the society would improve. Remember that as a historian, I'm not concerned about a mosque or a temple. We are talking about a heritage structure which was violently broken, and these are not my words. The Supreme Court of the country labeled it as such that it was, a crime, and a case should go on against those who committed this criminality. It was a crime which had been committed on our national heritage. So, whether a crime which is something anti constitutional would be forgiven only by some pious gestures, I'm not so sure. But given the situation, it's his opinion. My opinion is that perhaps nothing would have taken place. Both these litigants, the litigant who was fighting for Babri Masjid and the litigant for Ram Temple, that Mahant and this Ansari, would sit together, talk together, eat together, and go to the court together. And I have seen that friendship when I was there as an observer. I would also sit along with them and enjoy their company, but their comradeship did not result in anything beautiful. So perhaps, I'm not sure, but it's an opinion.